Hello and welcome to the Smart Chiropractor Show. I'm Dr. Jeff Langmaid here with my co-host, Dr. Jason Deitch. We're closing in on the end of 2021, believe it or not. So we have a special end of year show. We're going to go through the segments that you've come to know and love. We're going to talk some marketing. We're going to have some guests. We're going to talk about mindset and much, much more. We're going to break that into episodes. So if you want to, you're going to see some little images in the bottom corner. You can scroll if you're watching this on replay. Get right to that section that you'd like. We have them listed in the description of this video. Jason, we're rolling through to the end of the year. How are you doing today?
Well, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Merry Everything, as I say. I'm doing great. It's the end of the year. For me, it's always a reflective time. What happened this year? What do I want to happen next year? What am I grateful for this year? What am I grateful to be able to contribute or strive for or achieve next year? I'm doing well, and I'm excited for the show. I'm excited for us to build our viewership and for more and more chiropractors to get smarter by what we will be contributing today and in the future. That's what this is all about. You'll learn as much by hearing us as you will from watching us, watching what we do. And that's one of our goals, is to make sure we're practicing what we're preaching and doing it the best way we possibly can. So I'm excited.
I am excited for our first segment. We're talking mindset, and you brought up a video that we're going to showcase in a moment. I'm going to kick it over to you to really set this up. But if you are a chiropractor out there watching and you are looking for maybe that little bit of extra motivation, inspiration, a new way to think about building, growing, and developing your practice that's actually built on the tenets as old as time, this video is going to be for you. Jason, you brought this up. I'll let you set it up. Then we'll get into a fantastic video by Seth Godin.
Yeah, I want people to realize, if you're looking for something to do over the next few days, this book right here, easy, fast, it's even small, not a big size book, not very thick. One of the best gifts you can give yourself this year. Why? Because in my opinion, what Seth Godin is doing to marketing is what you do to healthcare. Okay, I'm going to say it again. What Seth Godin will teach you about marketing, what Seth Godin will teach you about marketing is the same type of idea of what you teach people about healthcare. And that is a different way to think about it. Your mindset matters. If you think that you're just the type of chiropractor that's just an expensive aspirin because the aspirin didn't work or whatever opioid or narcotic, that you're just a replacement for something else that exists, you have a very different philosophy than if you're the type of chiropractor that believes that you do something different. And that philosophy and your expression of that philosophy will absolutely have everything to do with your practice success, and most importantly, with your fulfillment in practice, both financially, emotionally, every way you can measure and want. So Jeff and I have been doing a lot of work behind the scenes. It's been actually one of the collateral benefits of us doing this show. And if you do your own show, you'll find the same positive benefit, which is we get back to learning. We get back to looking for those things that inspire us, that move the needle, that shift our mind. This book is one of those things. So we're going to play a few minutes of Seth himself so you can hear it from the source that inspires us, that guides us, the payday practice, and much of what we're doing in the years to come. Our product, our service, our coaching, our program is very much based on this philosophy. Jeff, let's hit the tape.
We must do it as a team. And it's when teams work together that we create value. So this new economy, this connection economy, what's it based on? Here are some basic principles. The first thing is coordination. You're all here today. None of you were in this room a week ago. None of you will be here next week. Value was created by coordinating our efforts. Number two is trust. There's someone sitting behind you or in front of you, and you trust them enough to talk to them. You trust them enough to be in the room. You don't even know them, but you know that they're fellow travelers. The next idea is permission, which we just talked about. The privilege of delivering messages to people who want to get them. And the fourth element of this economy is sharing ideas. All of us are smarter than any of us. So if you think about what you do all day, how many of these four elements are at the heart of what you do? Because the institutions that are growing and the organizations that are profiting are right in the center of that. But here's the surprising part. The surprising part is these four principles are based on two words, two concepts, two principles: generosity and art. Generosity, because no one wants to connect to a selfish person. No one wants to connect to an organization that's just taking. And art is what we call it when a human being does something that connects us. When a human being does something that might not work. When a human being says, here, I made this. Art begs for connection. And that's what we seek out. Not the reliable sameness of perfection in Six Sigma, but the art of knowing someone touched it. So before I started ranting, you may have thought what marketing meant is things like likes and clicks and how many people are following you and hype. No, actually marketing is more like what does it cost and what's the story. And actually marketing is what you support and you use. Actually, marketing is now what you make. It is as far from advertising as it can be. What marketing is what is this thing? What is the experience of this service? What are the side effects it leaves behind? What does it mean to be associated with this? Let me crystallize this in the simplest way I can. Here's the question. The first person with a fax machine, what exactly did he do with it? I'll let you think about that for a second. You can't use a fax machine by yourself. Built into the fax machine is the engine of the marketing of the fax machine. As soon as you got one, you know what you did? You told everyone else you knew to go get one, so your fax machine would work better, right? That's built into Twitter and Facebook and everything else that's based on community. Bob Metcalfe, he's not shy, coined Metcalfe's Law. And Metcalfe's Law says the value of any network is the square of the power of the people on the network. So we are now in the business of building networks, not in the business of building widgets, because widgets are cheap and easy to make. Networks last a long time and they're hard to build. Next big idea. My wife has transportation narcolepsy, which is a fictional disease she got shortly after we got married. This disease causes her to fall asleep on any moving vehicle, unless there's a good movie on the plane. That's how I know it's fictional. Anyway, 15 years ago, we planned a trip to France, and we missed a flight, and we missed another flight in a connection, and it ended up taking about 17 hours. And for 17 hours, my kids have been making a ruckus. And for 17 hours, my wife has been asleep. So we're driving through this pasture in France. It's a beautiful sunny day, and it's, cows and all that other stuff. And I noticed in the back seat, it's finally quiet. And I go, phew, the kids are asleep. And then I look in the rearview mirror, they're not asleep. They're staring out the window at this perfect specimen of a cow for about 3 seconds. And then they went back to making a ruckus. You know why? Because cows are boring. Even in Finland, cows are boring. See, 1 cow, 5 cows, 10 cows, they're all the same. We don't need to see more cows. But what if it had been a purple cow? That was a special effect. I'll do it slowly. What if it had been a purple cow? If it had been a purple cow, I'll tell you what would have happened. I would have pulled over. My wife would have woken up. What's going on? She would have got on the phone, called people back home, told them she was looking at a purple cow. I would have taken pictures to prove that I'd seen a purple cow. And my kids would have ignored me as usual, opened the door, run across the street, jumped over the fence, and rubbed the cow. So that when they went to show and tell in 2 weeks, they could tell people they'd seen and touched a purple cow. You know what a purple cow is? Only one thing: remarkable. And remarkable means worth making a remark about. It is not up to you. It's up to us about whether we're going to remark about what you made. And if we remark about what you made, you know what happens? The spam filters all go away. The remote controls don't matter. The word spreads. The network builds. You gain trust and connection. So, how much time are you spending making something worth talking about, as opposed to meeting spec? You have been to this meeting where the sales guy says, whoa, we just need to lower our price, because if we're the cheapest, we'll be able to grow. Fortunately, the CFO speaks up and she says, don't do that, that's a race to the bottom. And the problem with a race to the bottom is we might win. Worse, we might come in second. That doesn't help. So some wise guy says, all right, let's raise the price a few bucks. Because if we raise the price a few bucks, our margins will go up. But the head of marketing says, can't do that. Our customers aren't stupid. They're not going to pay extra for the same thing. The only option is to be the only one. When you are the only one, people will cross the street. People will wait in line. People will proudly talk about what they bought from you. The price isn't the point. But how can you possibly be the only one? The answer is we must go back to understand how the legend of Icarus, the myth of Icarus, got under our skin. You may have heard it. Daedalus and Icarus, banished to an island. Daedalus makes a bunch of wings out of feathers he finds on the island. He affixes them to Icarus's back and he says, my son, fly away, but don't fly too high, because the sun will melt the wax and you will die. Icarus disobeys his father, flies too high, he dies. What is this myth about? It is about obeying your father. It is about doing what you are told. It is about not getting uppity. It's about the opposite of hubris. The astonishing thing about this story is they changed it in 1850. If you look in the library and look in the old books, that's not what the myth used to say. What it used to say is all of what I just told you, plus the following sentence. More important, my son, do not fly too low, because if you fly too low, the mist and the waves will weigh down your wings and you will surely perish.
All right, kicking it off with some Seth Godin talking mindset here on the Smart Chiropractor Show. Tons of take-home messages there, Jason. Maybe showcase one or two highlights for you as we watch that. I know a lot of what he talked about is in some of the books, the book you showed earlier in various forms and concepts. What are some of those hard-hitting messages that you take away from that short clip?
You know, three things really come up to me on that just one clip, and we'll put the link down below so you can watch the entire hour. It's worth it. Number one, he started off that segment by talking about how it really takes a team. You'll watch, if you watch the entire video, he'll make the point that no single person knows how to make a computer mouse. They don't know the plastics and the electronics and the marketing and everything that goes along with producing something. It takes a team. And so one of the things I first think about is that's what we do. We're your team. We're the team that works for you and with your team on location in order for you to achieve that. That was the first one. The second one that I liked a lot was when he talked about the purple cow. We might want to coin the term the purple chiropractor, because the real question is, what are you saying that's unique and different that's going to get people who drive by dozens, if not hundreds of signs that say the word chiropractor, just like you, what's going to get them to stop and pay attention to you? Not just any chiropractor, not just the closest, cheapest chiropractor, but you in particular. So I love the way he sort of, illustrates that. It's obvious once you see it in that kind of frame of reference. And then I love the way he really extrapolates out this concept of, potentially winning the race to the bottom, or even worse, coming in second place. That's really what, you and I have been talking about for quite a while now as it relates to the profession and the mindset that we have been lulled into believing is true, that marketing is advertising and that it only works if you've got a measurable return on investment of how much money you put in and how much money you got out in a very short, specific period of time. What you'll get from all of what Seth Godin is talking about is that just like medicine is likely something different to you than it is the rest of the world, marketing is something different to us than it is for the rest of the world as well. So as you continue to sort of learn what's your message, who are your people, what's your purple thing, what makes you unique and different, that gets into what he talks about, generosity in art. Are you willing to be generous and give it away, share it? As I learned at Life University in Dynamic Essentials, how to give out of a sense of abundance. And are you being artful? Are you sharing, as he talked about, the outcomes, the reasons? And if you were to summarize all the things that Seth has been talking about in terms of, how do you answer the question, what is marketing? He summarized it by simply saying this sentence, this phrase: people like us do things like this. People like us do things like this. He mentioned Metcalfe's law and building networks and connection and the social influences of people making decisions, as opposed to the discounts and the deals and the numbers and the data and this being the same as everybody else. So dig in. I think it's one of the most valuable things you can learn and listen to at the end of this year in order to create a compelling 2022 that gives you an insight as to where our team is coming from, how we think, how we approach our marketing / generous gift of art. And hopefully what you want to join us on next year, because, Jeff, actually, I'll kick it, to you to answer sort of the question as we dig down. That statement is so significant because, you have to answer two things. Number one, who are people like us? And two, what is it that people like us do? So maybe let's make this segment real. In your opinion, who are people like us? You could do your version, I'll do my version, because part of the beauty is that, we do come from different places in a beautiful way. And yet, as different of a place we can come to, the people like us often will do the same types of things. So let me kick it over to you and get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's a great question, Jason. My thought is people like us are chiropractors out there, looking to build and grow their practices in a way that they can be proud of at the base level. They're individuals who are proud to be chiropractors. They're people who love teaching the benefits of chiropractic care, of movement, of everything that we know leads to a high quality life, as chiropractors. Getting out there, teaching that, getting your hands on people, that is really what I view as the individuals who are like us, passionate day in and day out, showing up, trying to improve. To me, that's really the number one delineating factor of sort of our tribe of individuals. And I think we see it right here in this group, the Smart Chiropractor group, where we have people that practice just about every chiropractic technique under the sun, and we have such a wide variety of philosophical applications of chiropractic, but the core tenets remain the same. It's a group of docs out there showing up day after day, doing what they can to improve the health of their community. And while not everybody has every tool, and that's why we have the Smart Chiropractor to help that process, to teach at the highest level possible, everybody has that desire to be a little bit better, to learn a little bit more clinically. And that's why we have clinical conversations and a host of guests, etc. And a little bit better on the marketing side and an interest in learning more. You might not want to do it all day, every day. However, there's that interest, there's that spark, because that leads to a bigger impact in your community. And I think as chiropractors, service providers in communities, yes, there are these big national chains, and we know some of those individuals as well. But for most docs out there, it's really digging into a community, making an impact, getting to know the other business owners, building connections and bridges, and improving the quality of life of those individuals who walk through your front door. And any little bit that you can have as an edge on your treatments, on your care, is advantageous. And certainly anything you can do on marketing, as we think about it, is impactful as well. It's not only a differentiator in many ways, but it ultimately yields better results. What are your thoughts, Jason?
I think you're right on. You said that perfectly. People like us are people who are professionals, right? Health professionals who have dedicated our lives to learning a specific skill, namely communication and adjustment, and the art of chiropractic, and have a desire to really want to make a difference in people's lives. I would like to think of it that, you're serving based on inspiration, not desperation. that you've got your needs met. I'm not saying, you live on the biggest house and drive every car you want to drive and take every vacation or fly private. I'm saying that you can go to work, you can be of service to other people with a spirit of being generous to help them because your needs are met and handled. That you don't have to make recommendations for care based on what you need, maybe your financial stress and so on, but you can really do what Jeff said, which is to be generous and to share what you know because you know it will be a benefit to others. And so if that makes sense to you, if you're like us, that's why we're doing what we're doing. And it's exactly why you should be doing what you should be doing if you're like us. So people like us do things like this to us means that you understand the value of staying well aligned, aka getting adjusted on a regular basis. You get that that's a lifestyle, not just an event. And two, that you have a spirit of wanting to share that with as many people as you possibly can. And that's what drives you. Imagine, I guess the litmus test is if you did win the lottery, or, at least didn't have to work for the money, what would change about your life? Granted, maybe you get a new house, maybe you get a new car, maybe you take another vacation or two, maybe you fund your kids' education or weddings or other things that are financial, responsibilities. But what would really change about you? Would you quit your job? Would you go do what you really want to do? Or would it put you in a place that you go, great, now that I've got everything handled, I can actually serve more. I can actually show up bigger. I can actually afford to be even more generous because my needs are met. And if that spirit sounds like you, then you're like us. And the things we do are focusing on the discipline of every month, every week, every day, making a positive impact, putting a pebble into the pond of this social media machine with the understanding and expectations, very much like the concept of, the dynamic wings that flap in China that create a hurricane in New York, that you understand the principles of physics, quantum physics, and the ability you have to make a difference in the world, that you're willing to show up each and every day and do something. That's really what it's all about. We're going to help make it as easy as possible for you to do the mundane stuff, the research, the graphics, the posting, the day-to-day grind stuff, so that you've got the freedom to go, great, I know what I'm talking about. I know who my audience is. I know what I'm supposed to be saying. I can just show up and give them my best and not fall victim to what most of the profession does, which is basically paralysis by analysis. You get so caught up in what should I say? Do I have the right mic? Do I have the right everything? That you end up doing much of nothing. So that's our message for you today here on the Mindset Mentor. That's what we're going to be doing each and every week here ourselves. And that's what we're going to be inviting you to get into the habit of thinking and doing if you want to make 2022 your best year yet.
And that is why we start with mindset each and every week. It is powerful and it sets the stage really for the rest of our show. Right now, we're going to move into our clinical conversations segment. Clinical conversations is where we tackle, as you can imagine, some clinical conversations about really the art and science relative to what we do as chiropractors and even the broader healthcare field as well. And there was an article that came across Jason's desk here over the last week, and we thought it would be a great conversation to look at the article together, to have a talk about regenerative medicine, orthobiologics. Perhaps you've seen us have some MDs, DOs, other physicians that we've built relationships with on right here in the Smart Chiropractor group and on the Smart Chiropractor YouTube channel. But Jason, I thought this would be a great end of year topic for us to look at a recently released article in Chiropractic Economics to discuss the implications, the pros, the cons, the questions anybody might have along the way. And we'd encourage you, if you have questions, we have answers or we can find answers. So drop them down below. And again, continue to tune in each and every week for the Smart Chiropractor Show. We are going to be hitting the ground running as we get into 2022. We have a load of special guests. upcoming segments are looking fantastic. So stay engaged, stay involved. Make sure that you subscribe on the YouTube channel to stay up to date as we take these clips, and you'll have access to every single segment. And if you have the time and opportunity based on your schedule, tune in each Tuesday so you can watch live, comment, and ask questions. Jason, I am going to share screen to the article we were discussing. And as I do that, I'm going to bring us in, and let's have a chat about this. What does regenerative medicine mean to you? Does this fit into chiropractic? I guess set the stage for our conversation, if you don't mind.
Yeah, carrying over from our last segment where we talked about networks and Metcalfe's law and the idea of building community, the thought behind why we keep bringing these MDs and DOs on is exactly this, just to give you the context, that together we can do more. And when we can find other professionals of any kind that are philosophically aligned with our philosophy, namely in this case being, how do we help people be healthier? How do we help people avoid drugs and surgery when we can? That's a core philosophy of mine. If there's something I can do to help people avoid drugs and avoid surgery because they've got orthopedic conditions, that's perfectly aligned with my philosophy. That doesn't mean that that's what I want to do as a chiropractor. It means that's aligned with my philosophy as a human being. That if I can help guide people to take less toxic drugs and be subject to less dangerous surgeries, that's called being a good citizen, let alone a good doctor. And so this group of docs that we've been working with over the past year or so, we brought them, as guests regularly. I'm sure at some point they'll be on again in the future. Was all based on that philosophy. Who are other doctors that philosophically align with who we are and what we do? Now, I'll pause for a moment because, when you mention regenerative orthopedics, when you mention orthobiologics, when you mention stem cells or PRP or any of these different types of sort of new advanced styles of the body healing itself, unfortunately, there's a group of chiropractors that have sort of taken it upon themselves to go, well, we should do that too, because you know what? You can actually make a lot of money doing that. And instead of staying, I'll say, focused on their core service, or colloquial saying, staying in your lane of what you're licensed to do versus not, they've taken some detours that have, I'll say, gone in the wrong direction, may not necessarily be legal, and certainly can be questionably ethical or unethical. Our stand is this: you're best at being a specialist at what you do and communicating and connecting with other specialists in what they do, and being great at articulating to those other specialists and to your community what it is that they can expect from you, and then work together to make sure that people get to the right place for them. That's really, that's what trust is all about. That's what being generous is all about. That's what being a doctor is all about, is guiding people to the services they need based on their needs, not yours. And this really, the sort of the spirit of why we keep sort of bringing this up is that there's been a lot of confusion and even some disciplinary actions in the past that we don't think are necessary. So smart chiropractors understand this is what orthobiologics is. This is what regenerative medicine is. These are the types of doctors who do it best. This is where you find good doctors who do it better than those that are just hopping on the bandwagon to say, yes, we do that too. And when you're able to come from that space and place, we think you're not only going to be able to guide people, whether it's yourself, your family members, staff that may have orthopedic issues that are not completely resolved by chiropractic care and require more care than chiropractic is able to offer for whatever the reasons are, limitations of matter. You'll be able to help guide people to the right place. You'll be able to help yourself. And you'll find that when you set these types of relationships up, the laws of the universe, as in reciprocity, often take place. So oftentimes, the more generous you are to give, remarkably, if you believe in something greater than yourself, it's magical how what you receive in return oftentimes is 10x. That's the whole benefit of a network, being a part of a network and doing the right thing. So that's my sort of high level philosophical. Let me kick it over to you to get a little bit more detailed and scientific with what it says in the paper.
Yeah, Jason, you brought up some great points, and I'll just say it really frankly. I think a lot of this comes down to the sniff test, right? Does it feel right? Are you why are you doing anything, right? And really just understanding. Okay, if I'm going to begin to do this, in my practice, am I going about this in a great way? I'm all for chiropractors really being able to build nice businesses. Not for everybody. Not everybody wants to do everything, but those chiropractors that really want to build a multidisciplinary practice, I'm all in for. I think the biggest thing is, are you going about this in a way that's skirting the rules purposefully and just getting by, or are you going about this in the way where you're bringing in maybe not world-renowned experts, but whatever that means, the top-level individuals. And to me, that's a really key concept here, is that it's clear at this point in time, when we look back a decade and Kobe Bryant, flying overseas to Germany to have his knees worked on because he had previous surgical intervention, trying to avoid, orthobiologics and regenerative medicine is here to stay. There's no question about it. And the landscape is still, I'm going to say, a little bit Wild West in terms of there's a lot of products, there's a lot of services, there's a lot of different approaches. And from what I can tell, the data still needs to sort out a lot in terms of, okay, how can we dial this in a way that is as replicatable as possible? With that being said, I think there are some key tenets that all of us as chiropractors, even not being experts in this field of medicine, but that we can look from the outside in and make critical assessments. In other words, in my opinion, there's no question that specificity is an important component of this. So if somebody is doing it, are they doing it with guidance? Are they just pushing the needle in as far as they think they should, or are they really monitoring what's going on? To me, that makes scientific sense that you'd improve the likelihood of getting a quality result if you can be more specific with what you are putting in. The second aspect of it is, quite frankly, what I've seen to be the widest berth of varying opinions in terms of where somebody is drawing something from. And, you have one product and, the company's claiming there's a gazillion, live stem cells, and, the person who uses the other product is saying there's zero, and it's like, wow, these are pretty wildly different opinions in terms of what's going on, so to speak, in the vial. And I think one thing that you and I have learned and discovered, I'm going to say, over the last year or so, and it just makes sense. Again, we'll learn more as data comes out as time moves on. So this is not necessarily with the gavel here closing the book. However, I would say it's pretty clear to me that when you are pulling, and your sample is from, live tissue in a live human being, and then you're using a centrifuge right there and getting it back in, that seems to make a lot of sense to me in terms of having the most viable product, let's say, in terms of whether it's PRP, whether it's STEM, etc., and then having guidance when you're putting it back in. So overarching themes, I'm kind of going a variety of different directions there. I think my thoughts are evolving in the regenerative medicine and orthobiologics space. I would say I am all for chiropractors that really want to build and grow larger healthcare entities. I think is a fantastic thing. And there's no question that, in my opinion, most people should explore this before they explore surgical intervention if they seem to be going that direction, or they have a condition that they've let go that's become so severe that it seems as though they're moving that way. I think having the third part about that is having a trusted individual who really lives and breathes this day in and day out. And I think about it the same way as chiropractic. Would you send somebody to a movement expert? If you were a golfer, do you send somebody to Greg Rose at TPI for an assessment who lives and breathes this with pros every day? Or do you send it to somebody who adjusts 1 hour a night, 2 days a month, right? It's like, I'm going to go under the dramatic assumption that going to TPI with somebody like Greg Rose or any of the team over there that works with high level athletes all the time, they are going to do a better job than somebody who who happens to moonlight and does it as a side gig because, hey, taking care of golfers pays good money, right? So this is really the way that I think about it. The science has a lot to be sorted out. I got a feeling in 10 years we'll look back and there'll be a lot of people saying, I had it right. A lot of people have egg on their face. That's the way it works out. I think there's a lot of people doing great things trying to explore the field. However, we're going to learn a lot, and that's a cool and exciting thing, in my opinion, for all of us as chiropractors to keep our eye on, because as this continues to develop, I think there'll be better and more options for our patients to receive high quality care as we continue to learn more about that field. So I maybe didn't break down exactly that article, Jason, but those are some of my thoughts related to a little bit of science and a little bit of business regarding orthobiologics. I'd love to have your thoughts on that before we move on to the next segment.
Yeah, the things that I learned really are the three places to sort of focus on are one, as you mentioned, making sure you're using the right thing in the right place under image guidance. Two is, making sure that it's in the right dosage. It's the right product that you're injecting. And it's not just a centrifuge. It's really understanding that, the different types of PRP and bone marrow concentrate matter. The different concentration levels matter. So it's having that level of expertise. And three, you really alluded to this, but just to sort of summarize it in 3 points, it is the training and the experience. It's how do you know that you're an expert at this, not just someone who saw that it's a new trend and it pays well. And, we've already got most of the equipment here, so we can get away with it. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. And I think that's the point here, is really understanding, the background and the context to it. If you didn't need the money, would you do it because you believe in it? And if so, are you really offering it at the highest level, legally and ethically possible? So that's our litmus test for it. That's our take on it. We've been spending a lot of time focusing on these clinical conversations. If you've got requests for other types of clinical conversations that we've had, leave us some comments down below, private message us, let us know. If there are other clinicians you work with as a chiropractor that you think we should be highlighting, other types of services, not that we should be doing as chiropractors, but that fit and align with who our patients, who our clients, who the people we serve also would want to see, learn from, and benefit from. And that's the concept of this network effect. It's being knowledgeable in what other people on your, call it wellness team, offer, so you can articulate how to cross-refer those people to the right place. And again, over and over and over again, you will see time and time again that the best way to get what you want, according to Dale Carnegie, the best-selling book on success, is to help other people get what they want.
Great point, Jason. Could not agree more. And that wraps up Clinical Conversations, our weekly segment devoted to the application of clinical practice in and around a chiropractic practice. We're talking research that matters, believe it or not. We are in the 4th week of December, which tells us it's the last week of the year. And we have monthly campaigns, weekly topics, and daily posts. That's our cadence of how we help docs teach and invite their way to practice success with the Smart Chiropractor. And our weekly topic right now, the grand finale of 2021, is how to reduce pain and inflammation naturally. This segment is brought to you by the Smart Chiropractor. If you'd like to increase the number of new patients, if you'd like to improve your active care retention, if you'd like to get a nice flywheel of proactive reactivations, and much more without spending money on advertising, come on over to the Smart Chiropractor. We have had nearly 50 docs come on board as new Smart Chiropractor members. We'll talk more about that later. TheSmartChiropractor.com to get started. Again, that's TheSmartChiropractor.com. But for this segment, we're talking about how to reduce pain and inflammation naturally. This is our weekly topic. Our monthly campaign for all of December for Smart Chiropractor members was chronic inflammation. And we're wrapping it up with how to reduce pain and inflammation naturally. I have a feeling a couple of these core tenets are going to resonate with you as a chiropractor. This is really about movement, exercise, nutrition, rest, exactly the items that we live and breathe as chiropractors. What are you thinking about? What are you putting in your body? How are you moving your body? This is really the basic tenets of how to reduce pain and inflammation naturally. We discussed earlier this month on one of our first episodes the fact that over 60% of chronic disease is fueled by chronic inflammation. And much of this stems from an initial acute injury that might not be addressed in the best manner possible. And over time, the noxious stimulus goes away, yet the inflammation sticks around. That's the textbook definition, maybe an ad-libbed version of chronic inflammation. So how do you overcome that? Because I think as a chiropractor, there's a couple aspects here. One is helping people live their highest quality of life. By helping them reduce pain and inflammation naturally, they're going to have a natural improvement of quality life. Now, if I get even more practical and I say, what about those stubborn patients that we've all had that don't feel like they're exactly getting that level of improvement, yet they're not taking any of those active steps outside of your practice? There's no question that the adjustment that you deliver, the care you'll deliver, is a huge step up from not having it. However, it takes two to tango. We know that. So understanding these drivers of chronic inflammation are important because it can help with your table talk. It can help you better describe how people can get better results, how people can get faster results in your practice. Now you're talking about the benefits to them beyond merely pain relief that really can motivate people. Hey, I'd love to get better results faster, right? Ultimately, that's a motivating factor for a lot of people coming into your practice. And we think about that often in terms of pain relief and pain relief alone, but it goes beyond that. And the reason inflammation was chosen, of course, for December is habits go out the window, all right? People are not sleeping correctly. They're eating a ton of sugar. They're off their exercise habit. They're traveling. All of these things, their daily wellness routines for many individuals get interrupted, and then they're trying to kickstart things back into January. So the best thing you can do, in my opinion, as a chiropractor, is proactively answer these questions. People are curious. Hey, how can I don't want to just be loading up on NSAIDs the last 2 weeks of December because I'm paying the piper for all my habits over the last couple of weeks. What are those things that I can do as a person in the community that you can showcase to me as my trusted healthcare influencer advisor, the chiropractor, that can help me do it the more natural way? So talking about movement, explaining that exercise, as we talk about here all the time, segmental, regional, and whole body movement, really emphasizing that as a way to reduce pain and inflammation naturally. When you talk about nutritional aspects, and you can get super deep with this, or you could say, hey, watch the sugar intake. You can get, you can you can mold this to what works for you and your practice style. And of course, rest and sleep. And if somebody's in pain at the base level, it's about much more than that. But at the base level, if they're in pain, they probably are going to be, statistically, eating more, sleeping less, and not exercising enough. So really, showcasing these basic tenets, how they can get little wins each and every day, I think is one of the most important things we can do. Inflammation is our topic, Jason, our campaign, I should say, for December for exactly this reason. When we talk about reducing pain and inflammation naturally, all of those points that I brought up, what resonates with you, and maybe what would be something that you would pick out if you were speaking to a friend, colleague, loved one, or patient today?
On the clinical side of things, I think you nailed it perfectly. This is the time that habits go out the window. People are partying. They're, paying the piper by just, pure pleasure. The year was a disaster. The least I can do is have a little bit of just pleasure and fun. And it's hard to argue that. It really is. But it is appropriate for you as their health guide, as their leader, to help them understand the context of, what do you do if too much is too much? And how do you get yourself back to baseline? And how do you remind people about what they need to do to be the healthiest version of themselves? So that's really, as I take a step back beyond, inflammation, and every month there's a different topic that gives you the ability, as Jeff said, to either, stay on the surface. Hey, inflammation is going to happen because of all the sugar and alcohol and lack of sleep, lack of exercise. So here are ways in which to, make sure you navigate your journey. Or, you can get really deep. You can say, I've got a PhD in, or I've studied nutrition, or, this is my protocol of what I do during the holidays. And if you want to go deep in any of these topics, that's your option. We think of these basically, marketing campaigns, what you receive from the Smart Chiropractor, as the instructions and the script suggestions on how you can really figure out what you're going to share what you're going to teach and invite consistently month after month after month. So our best clients are using this as a framework. If you were a chef, if you were a world famous chef, you would have people that go out and do some of the shopping for you, that provide the best quality types of ingredients, that you have people that prepare those things for you, because your art is knowing what should be prepared, gathering all that stuff, and then plating it, presenting it in the unique artistic chef type way. That's what we're offering you. Think of this as like a home cooking meal. We'll provide you the ingredients. We'll provide you the instructions. You cook it up any way you want to. If you want to just follow our system and follow our recipe, great. If you want to use that as a base and add your creativity to it for your special flavoring, what's the saying? Dash to your preference, make it yours. So that's really what Clinical Conversations is all about, is making sure you understand what hundreds of doctors around the world who are smart chiropractors are talking about. It's understanding, here is the ingredients so that you can make your life much easier, your staff's life much easier. Here's what we're going to be talking about. We've already given you the calendar for next year. If you are on the influencer side, not on the leave me alone, do it for me side, if you were, you're probably not watching. If you're on the influencer side, then this is really your baseline of what to talk about in 2022, month by month. We'll be breaking it down week by week, day by day. You get to sweeten it to your best flavoring, to apply to your training, your background, your philosophy, and your audience. We're here to be your background team to make it easy for you to perform at your best.
That's it. And if you are a Smart Chiropractor member, be sure you are getting out there this week, teaching and inviting. You have all the automations supporting that messaging, your social automations, your email automations, your patient education automations are all rocking. If you are a new member, thanks for coming on board and get engaged, ask questions. We are here for you. We're going to move on to our next segment, which is member highlights. So let's see exactly what we're talking about in action. If you've been following Jason and I in the Smart Chiropractor for a little while, you've heard those words teach and invite consistently quite often, because we know that is the path to success when building and growing a practice with marketing as opposed to advertising. And you can have a little bit of both. It doesn't have to be one or the other. But don't get confused and think that advertising is marketing, because it really isn't. However, when you are marketing, when you are teaching and inviting consistently, guess what? Really great things start to happen. People start to take note of who you are. They get to start to take note of what your messaging is. They start to share it with friends. You start to see your schedule fill up with more of your ideal patients, because referencing Seth Godin earlier, you start to become remarkable. You start to become somebody a little different, somebody a little special. And you might not resonate with every single person, and that's okay, because you have more of your ideal patients in your practice. So without further ado, I'm going to click over. We'll check out a real-life example of this with one of our Smart Chiropractor members, Dr. Mike Mills. Dr. Mike has been with us for a while. He is an active guy. He is always willing to go that one step beyond. He has a fantastic practice. He's been doing this a long time, but he is a great example of a doc who day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, is utilizing the Smart Chiropractor system to the fullest. He's utilizing all of our automations to support his message, yet he's going that extra 5 to 10% that really takes it over the top. So let's take a look at the video that Dr. Mike shot live just a couple weeks ago. Then Jason and I will talk about some of what we love and some of how you can put this into action yourself.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mike Mills with the Building Blocks of Health TV. Today's video is going to get a timestamp since it's Christmas and we are celebrating Ugly Sweater Day. Inflammation. Inflammation is like a check engine light in your body. It tells you that something isn't quite right and you should pay attention. The first step in discovering the cause of the problem is determining whether you have acute or chronic inflammation. Acute inflammation is short-term and plays a critical role in healing and injury repair. Chronic inflammation, on the other hand, describes a condition where your immune system continues to produce white blood cells even after the injury is gone. The combination of chronic inflammation and an excess of white blood cells can cause some problems with your immune system. In some cases, your immune system may even begin to target healthy cells and structures. If sustained over time, over a period of time, you may experience changes in your cells, tissues, organs that could increase your likelihood of disease. Of course, one of the most significant challenges is chronic inflammation can be invisible unless you know where to look. Here are a few of the most common signs of chronic inflammation. Insulin resistance. Insulin helps control sugar levels in your blood, and inflammation could affect how your insulin works. Muscle weakness. Chronic inflammation can cause your immune system to mistakenly attack and inflame your muscles, which could make you weak. And fatigue. Fatigue is a sign of long-term inflammation and common in inflammatory diseases like fibromyalgia, multiple sclerosis, lupus, and rheumatoid arthritis. If you've been living with muscle weakness, fatigue, or other nagging pains, you may also be living with chronic inflammation. It's often our daily habits that contribute to the state of chronic inflammation. Know that our team specializes in helping you create a healthy lifestyle through daily habits that combat chronic inflammation. We invite you to take the first step toward better health by scheduling a visit with us today so that we can work together to help you feel and function better. To make this process simple and convenient, we have created an online health assessment that you can complete, and we can simply follow up with you with a phone call. If you'd like access to our online assessment, please just let us know, and we can share the link with you. I'll see you next week for another episode of the Building Blocks of Health TV.
All right. And that was Dr. Mike Mills, Smart Chiropractor member. And I think that is just a great example. He's not acting. He's not trying to beat Daniel Day-Lewis for an Oscar. He's getting out there and teaching and inviting. He's utilizing the script, smiling. He's in his practice. That is really a textbook definition of what we look for. He's gone a little extra. He's got a little graphics on the front end and the back end. He built out a health assessment tool to help facilitate that call to action, or invitation as we call it. Did a fantastic job, great pacing, just looking straight ahead, being confident, getting really the reps in. So kudos, Dr. Mike. I know you've been doing it for a while. You continue to do a great job. And I think that you showcase a great example of getting out there and teaching and inviting. Jason, what are your thoughts on Dr. Mills and using the video scripts there?
He's doing exactly the right thing. One of the reasons we do this is to acknowledge those of you who are doing it right. Bravo to you. Thank you for doing that. I was watching a video by Jim Quick, who talks about the brain and how it works. You can look him up online, and talking about how to build a super brain. And one of the things that he referenced was this whole idea of the 4-minute mile, and that it had been thousands of years, if ever, that anybody had ever run a 4-minute mile. And then Roger Bannister comes along and does it. And the way he did it, if you learn the story, is that he had visualized over and over and over crossing the finish line at 3:59, breaking that 4-minute limit. What's interesting about the story is not just that he did it, but once he did it, there were dozens and then hundreds of people that soon did it afterwards. And the question you have to ask yourself is, why all of a sudden, after one person was able to accomplish something, was it all of a sudden now much easier for other people to follow? And the answer was they finally recognized it was possible. So the two reasons we show these videos, or maybe multiple reasons, but two of the reasons that we show them, is one, to acknowledge Mike, great job. Thanks for taking action. Kudos to you. Well done. Bravo. And for the rest of you, that's what the 4-minute mile looks like. That is what you do in order to be able to keep it regular. And, I've been watching a lot more podcasts and so on these days. It's become part of my lifestyle and routine for my own personal growth and so on. And, if you watch basically the world's largest, most popular podcaster these days, Joe Rogan, he'll be the first to tell you that nobody starts with a massive audience. Jeff, you talk about this all the time, that, everyone, us, you, everyone starts at zero at some point and builds from there. So keep it in context wherever you are. If you one of the great things about being a chiropractor and this process of building an audience is if you have been in practice for a period of time, you do already have people that have learned from you, have connected with you, that have been part of your services. That's your email list and your past files, people that have come to see you, people that are following on social, people that you will hopefully soon start reactivating by implementing reactivation email campaigns like we have in Chiro Emails as part of the Smart Chiropractor. Understanding how these different things works is the name of the game. Then doing something about it is where you're going to get results. And when you do something about it, we hope to see it and highlight you here in the future.
Very, very well said. Stay tuned next week for member highlights. We're going to showcase other Smart Chiropractor members doing fantastic things for their community and in their practice. And be sure to tune in each Tuesday so you can interact with this show live, and subscribe on our YouTube channel so you can see all of the segments broken out each and every week. Those will be up very soon. And we are now heading into our next segment. And I'll tell you what, sometimes the stars align and you are just able to land, guests that blow everybody away. And I have to say, today we have done that. Jason, you're going to be interviewing me. I better get my interviewee hat on here. I'm going to make us split screen here and share. We're going to talk a little bit about marketing. We'll talk a little bit about practice management. We'll talk a little bit about where we're going in 2022 as well with the Smart Chiropractor. But I'm going to take a back seat. You're going to be the driver during this segment. I am happy to be the featured guest on today's episode.
Well, I am so honored that we were able to get you during this time of year. I know how busy you are with family and all the things that you do to contribute to making the profession and the world a better place. So let me start off by saying, Dr. Jeff Langmaid, co-founder of the Smart Chiropractor, thank you so much for being here with me today.
My pleasure. Happy to take the time and excited to share.
Awesome. So as we end this year, 2021, and begin to look into 2022, I'm curious from your vantage point, what did you learn in 21 that you're going to improve in 22, as it relates to, your philosophy of life, of marketing, of business? The world is upside down and it's still in its, washing machine tumble mode. To be determined as to how and when this all sort of settles into whatever new normal, I guess we're going to call it. What have you learned, and what does 2022 look like for you and all of your clients?
Yeah, I think the number one thing for me is that, it's an old saying, but it's, every challenge presents an opportunity. I think as we've seen the world be challenged, as we've seen chaos, it always presents opportunities as well. And for many chiropractors out there, I know with many of our members and just the docs we spoke to over time, the initial, hit of what's occurred over the last few years really took its toll on a lot of practices, varying levels depending upon what state they practiced, etc. However, many bounced back almost even stronger over time. And that's a great example of when chaos and challenges can create opportunities, because people started to, in my opinion, look for more natural ways. They tried to look towards, hey, what can I do to stay as healthy as possible? What are maybe some of those things that I've been putting off that I should put onto my plate, onto my radar? And those docs that were getting out there and teaching and inviting consistently, as we just showcased with the member highlights, really had a supreme advantage when they were, just getting out there with their message of who they are and what they do. And they saw, results follow actions. They were taking those actions that led to results over time. So that's something I think that is a great takeaway, that even with challenges in the outside world, there are things that are controllable and things that are uncontrollable. And while you might not be able to control everything, when you can focus on what you can control and those action steps that you can take little by little each and every day, it starts to add up over time. I'll bring it a specific example of what we've done with the Smart Chiropractor, so docs can really get a tangible example of this as well for what they've maybe seen through us. Is, earlier this year, about a year ago, we started to really focus on creating blog content. And we said, gosh, we'd love to have more visitors coming to our website, free traffic, people searching things, and be that resource. We wanted to be that beacon of hope and inspiration, for many chiropractors out there, just as many chiropractors are to the people in their community. And we said, what are the action steps we can take to do that? Well, you can certainly spend money on advertising and pay for clicks, or we decided to go about it a different way, which was, how do we build a blog that has articles that are clinically focused, marketing focused, that are what we are passionate about, and how do we curate a nice team of individuals that can help us with that. And lo and behold, we published one blog, and I can tell you there wasn't a million people that visited it, right? So, but we kept up, and our actions every single week. We published blog content. Now we look back over the last year, and we can see we're getting hundreds, if not a couple thousand visitors each and every month to our blog. Hands off, just checking things out, cruising around. They get in our ecosystem. We start to build that know, trust, and like factor over time. And maybe they subscribe to the group, maybe they check things out here, and you start to build that relationship and bridge that gap. And the same thing holds true for every practicing doc out there. If you're not getting your message out, how are people going to know who you are and what you're about? So what are those action steps that you're taking each and every day, each and every week, each and every month, depending upon what it is and what the cadence should be, that can help you achieve that goal? So that was just an example there, and also a little bit of optimism, saying, hey, with every bout of chaos and challenge, there's always a silver lining and an opportunity, especially when you start to look at, hey, what are those things that I can do, and what are those things that I can control, and it invariably yields a good result over time.
I love that example. It illustrates a few things that I just sort of am observing. I hope others are getting. One, that you chose a thing, right? You didn't just say, I need to grow. You said, we're going to focus on building our organic traffic through blog posts. And you dug deep specifically into one specific tactic that you really focused on. Do I want to do the writing? Do I need to get a team of writers to help me do the writing? What should I write about? Is it only what I'm interested in? Is it only what they're interested in? Is there an interface between those things? Do I get professional help, or do I just figure this out on my own? And, all of those questions to help you move one metric forward, not all metrics, one specific metric forward. I know the numbers, I've seen the details, I've watched what's happened over the year, and, kudos to you for driving all of that. Let's kick into, what does it look like? What's your prediction for 2022 for you, the Smart Chiropractor, and for the Smart Chiropractor clients, members who are either current members or will be soon to be members? You mentioned we had a massive month of new members coming on. Congratulations and thank you. Welcome. Join the club, join the tribe. What does it look like for all of us in the next year coming up? Because it is a process that is constantly evolving, constantly growing, constantly sort of pivoting to the changes in technology, the changes in our understanding, the changes in the world, and really constantly trying to, adjust the sails to the wind, the water, the speed, everything, to make sure you're on the right pathway. What's 2022 look like for you?
Yeah, there's two primary items that kind of stick out to me. One is doing what we do well better. So continuing to make things easier and more effective for our members. For example, just looking at our calendar for next year gets me really excited, really choosing those monthly campaigns, those weekly topics, and then building out those daily posts. Now we have so much fantastic data, servicing hundreds of docs around the world. We're reaching 5 million plus people on social each month. We're sending 500,000 plus emails each month. So we can look back now and really start to refine at scale in a way that nobody else can. Hey, did this one hit the mark? Was this one a little off? Hey, wait, what are those, gold nuggets, those clinical pearls, so to speak, that we can pull out of our experience and the network effect we've been able to build to continue to help our docs get better and better results using the automated services? So that's one aspect that I'm really looking forward to. And that might sound, I don't want to speak too soon here. That might sound like EHR integrations. That might sound like, things that people might have heard about, and maybe we've been beta testing behind the scenes here as well, just to make the Smart Chiropractor that much easier, that much more effective. The second aspect of that, it ties in, but it's big enough that I'm going to give it its own category. And that's really helping docs diversify their practice by creating recurring revenue, predominantly online. There's a variety of ways, as we'll talk about and sort of showcase as time goes on, that a doc can do that. But I'll just kind of lead in with, kind of the tip of the spear, so to speak. We're building and creating recurring revenue without having inventory, with items that your patients are already purchasing, drop shipping them. That's really what we built out with our Smart Care store system that to date we've only released to our Smart Chiropractor members. So there's no way to have a Smart Care store unless you're a Smart Chiropractor member. We have well over 50 stores up and running right now. I'm excited to get that number ramped up and help docs reduce their stress, help them create recurring revenue that diversifies their business a little bit. You can continue to do your fee for service, get your hands on people, deliver that care. But man, you can start to reduce your stress, meet those monthly expenses ultimately over time by having some memberships and subscriptions, some subscribe and save options for your patients. And the way that we put it together, it's not about selling. It's not about weirdly trying to insert something into your process and system that just doesn't feel right and doesn't work. This is the beauty of the Smart Chiropractor. All of the automations, email, social, video streaming, etc., can support those efforts that you're willing to do. And I'm just I can't wait. I mean, I'm jazzed at the reviews, the testimonials, the results ultimately that our docs are getting that you can see on our website now. I'm like mind blown for 12. I try to think about 12 months from now what those are going to look like, and it's pretty exciting.
That is awesome. I'm excited for it as well. As we sort of wrap up the segment, I guess let me ask what's inspiring you these days? We're living in a world of chaos. There's all kinds of uncertainty as the future unfolds in front of us day after day after day. The stakes have never been higher. The insanity, from what I know, has never been crazier globally, collectively, the way it is right now. What's driving you to keep doing what you're doing, inspiring you to look at the future in a positive, optimistic way and, not let all the insanity sort of get the best of you?
I would say, is there any other time that like we as chiropractors are more needed? Right. Yeah. So, I mean, you look at this and it's, the look for the helpers kind of thing. Right. So, when you see all of this turmoil and craziness and, whatever, however you want to define it and view it and whatever it means in the application of your practice and life, again, I think of that as an opportunity, and an opportunity not for exploitation, an opportunity for real, truly grassroots helping people take one step, just that little step, just getting moving in the right direction. And that can mean a variety of different things, in your practice with the care that you deliver. Maybe it's a video that you shoot that impacts somebody that you'll never know or hear about. But just doing those little steps each and every day, I think is more important than ever, because, we look back, 2.5, 3 years now, golly, and it's like, everything seems so calm, and it's what do they see? Tough seas make sailors and all this sort of, all the things, right? So I truly believe that, when you look back then and you're sort of just cruising along, it's easy to, maybe look at things that don't matter as much in some contexts, where when you really have, stormy seas and all of these challenges and, as healthcare providers, as chiropractors, I mean, no matter what, it's going to influence you, right? It's within the sphere of what we do, as healthcare providers. So there is an impact, there is an influence, but I think the number one thing is really, this is an opportunity to think about, how do I help one person, right? How do I take that one next step? And, you don't have to be a lightning rod. Everybody has different personality. You don't need to be a lightning rod of controversy to do that. Some people, thrive in that sort of environment. Great. Others don't. Great. It's really about what are those things that you can do in your sphere of influence, and don't be foolish to think that that's only within 5 miles of your practice. Because of the tools we have right now, we're reaching people in Australia, New Zealand, the same as many docs out there. If you have more than a couple hundred followers on your Facebook or Instagram page, chances are you got a couple that probably live a long ways away that you've never met and you might never meet, but you can still impact and influence. They're still following you. They still want to learn from you. So what are those things that you can put out there? What are those items that you can do to teach and invite consistently? Because I can guarantee you, to tie it back to your original question, Jason, as far as me personally, getting out there, I feel better at the end of the day when I've taught and invited. When I can get out there and talk a little marketing, talk a little science, hop in this group, write a blog post, do something, write an email, whatever it might be, where I'm teaching and then I'm inviting somebody to take a next step. Now with us, a lot of times that invitation is, hey, check out what we have going on at the Smart Chiropractor, because we know it helps so many people. The same as a chiropractor will say about the benefits that their care provides. So these are absolutely parallel paths, but at the end of the day, I think action is what matters, and don't be mistaken to think that it needs to be a march of 1 million people wherever. It can really happen with you at your desk, in your practice, in your spare room, in your house, in your apartment, whatever it might be, by teaching and inviting. And if you start to string some of that together and do it consistently, you'll feel better about yourself. You'll impact people along the way. And I have a sneaking suspicion that as you set your goals up for 2022, it'll inch you closer than you would get if you didn't.
You got a lot of excitement on that one around here too. Listen, I think you're right on. And this show is also, I think, one of the things that I'm proud of you. I'm proud of us for putting together, because it is the scheduling of teaching and inviting consistently. And, I noticed that in Mike Mills' program as well. He sort of called it the health show. That's really part of, the growth that we're all going to do together. Jeff, I'll close up this segment by saying thank you. Thanks for, showing up big every day, every week, every month. This would not be what it is without you and your direct contributions to getting in there, rolling up your sleeves, and making things happen the way they do. So to you, to us, to our profession for 2022, I'm just speechlessly enthusiastic and excited of exactly what you described. The bigger the crisis, the bigger the opportunity, and there's never been a bigger both. Yeah. So that's where we're at. So thanks for taking time out of your schedule. I hope you have a wonderful New Year's. And that you'll join us sometime on a future segment of our guest interview on the Smart Chiropractor Show.
I surely will. Thank you, Jason. And I'll tell you what, sometimes the interviews, the stars just align. But now we're going to move on to our next segment. We're going to talk a little bit of strategic marketing. This is where we get tactical, and this is one of those things where I think Jason and I have both noticed in our team at large, this is a little bit of a hole. We've talked about holes in the bucket, right? Your practice. If you have a nice bucket, now once you have some patient flow, things start to work really fantastically. But if you have holes in the bucket, you pour water in, it falls out all the sides, right? So every business, every practice, everybody has some holes in their buckets. Our job is to say, hey, what are those holes that we can minimize or eliminate? Understanding that it's never going to be perfect. It's always a work in progress. That's why they call it practice. But strategic marketing today, we're talking about updating your email subscriber list. This is one of those big holes for many docs out there in their bucket. So what do we mean by this? What we mean by this is that specifically relative to the Smart Chiropractor and Chiro emails, however, if you use MailChimp, Constant Contact, whatever it might be, this is going to apply to you as well. So if you have an email list, and if you're a chiropractor, and especially if you're a Smart Chiropractor, you need to have an email list, then this is going to be something you're going to want to pay attention to as a member of the Smart Chiropractor, or if you're not yet a member. So updating your email subscriber list, what do we mean by that? What we mean by that is that in your email system, chances are you have different lists of subscribers. One might be, for instance, new patients. That would be a list. And there may be receiving your new patient onboarding emails, as we do within the Smart Chiropractor, help improve active care retention, help improve patient experience, reduce friction, etc. So your new patients, we're going to recommend, should receive an onboarding sequence, right? But at the end of that, what happens? Well, they should move over to the rest of the list, right? Your past patients, your active patients, they're not new anymore. They're beyond their first 10 to 14 days in your practice. They're moving on to your big list. And that would be everybody that's ever been in your practice that's going to receive your weekly email newsletter. Now, here's where things break down. If you're not taking the individuals who are new patients in your practice and putting them into the new patient subscriber list, they're never going to receive that onboarding sequence, and they're never going to trickle over to that weekly email. So this is a critical component, and now is the time of the year. If you've sort of pushed it off the plate, not looked at it, held your ears and closed your eyes when you've thought about doing it throughout the year, it's the end of the year. Make sure that you are going to go through your EHR system and you're going to export every one of the patients that come in since the last time you updated your list. And that might be a year, that might be forever, that might be last month, whatever it might be. Take a peek, look at, hey, when's the last time I updated my email list with my email system? Export the emails from your EHR, upload them into your email system, and ensure that all of those people that have come in since the last time you updated that list aren't in Never Never Land. They have to be on the list in your email system in order to get the communication, in order to receive the emails. So if you have not over the last, we recommend doing it at least weekly, but if you haven't done it over the last 2 weeks, 2 months, or 2 years, it's the end of the year. Do a nice cleanup, hop into your EHR, do a little export. If you want to check out how to do that, we can drop a link below. We have guides and blogs on the Smart Chiropractor blog page that showcase all the primary EHRs, step-by-step how to do it. So we have you supported there. Get in there and export that list. Get it over to your email system. Start the year off fresh so that your weekly email newsletters can do what they're designed to do. They can teach and invite consistently. They can keep people engaged with your practice. You can stay top of mind. You can showcase some new things that people might not connect with, benefits you can provide to them. And ultimately, you can get nice flow of reactivations week after week. So Jason, this has been something that we've talked about quite a few times over the last year, and it's been a hole in a lot of docs' buckets out there. What are your thoughts regarding docs uploading their email subscriber list, and why to you is this such an important step that so many docs are missing out on?
Yeah, it really is. You just explained kind of what to do. And you're right. The bigger issue is why to do it, because if you don't have a big enough why, you'll figure out a way to forget or not get to it. Your email list is probably the most valuable asset you have. I'm going to repeat that again. Your email list is probably the most valuable asset that you have. You might think it's your building. You might think it's your hands. You might think it's your technique or your staff or something, maybe stock or some other, your car, a jewel. You may think that's the most valuable asset that you have. And you may have something that valuable that it is. But the potential that you have when you have an email list of interested people, let's make sure we understand clearly. We're not saying you go buy an email list of a lot of people. We're saying that you have earned the ability to email, not just the ability, but the permission, as Seth Godin would call it, permission marketing. You have earned, with permission, the ability to share what you know, including what they want to learn and what they want to know, which is where to go to take a next step based on what you just taught. That your ability, as my friend Mark Victor Hansen taught me early on, that your network is equivalent to your net worth, that the number of people you can communicate with on a regular basis for free will absolutely influence your potential to drive personal revenue. And the number one place to be able to consistently do that without all the complaints of social media, they took down my post, they don't show it to everybody, all those other issues. There's no perfect technology, but if you were going to average out and sum out how to prioritize these things, your email list is the place you can directly, quickly reach the most people with the least interference, assuming you haven't overdone it with a list you bought or ruined and therefore are on a spam list. Your ability to communicate with people who want to be communicated with is the greatest potential you have to teach more people, grow your audience, and invite more people into your practice and to participate in the other services we continue to share with you to help you drive the recurring revenue you need to allow you to practice financially stress-free. There is a method to our madness. we are bringing you this process of bringing you how to go from, I'm a great chiropractor, I love chiropractic, but practice is a grind because I'm constantly financially stressed, and use this next year to turn it into what we call a payday practice. Email is one of the most important engines or drivers to building that payday practice. Those that have signed up with us already, the members that are now starting up their Smart Care store, are just starting to share those emails with your followers, with your subscribers, so that you can teach them and invite them to the next thing they are most interested in learning from you. How do I stay healthy? What are your favorite things? And can you make it super easy for me to be able to use your favorite things as conveniently and affordably as possible? That's what we're answering for them. What we're answering for you is the ability to generate enough revenue every single month automatically to be able to cover all of those recurring expenses you know aren't going away, that are there month after month after month after month. Smart chiropractors put those two concepts together so that if you know you've got certain recurring bills every single month, rent, mortgage, payroll, taxes, loan payments, life, everything it takes to afford to live your basic essentials, not your luxuries and wishes, your basic essentials. That once you know that you have got your basic essentials covered each and every month through recurring revenue that meets your recurring expenses, the world changes. It's like being in pain, thinking it's normal. I got the normal headaches, the normal back pain, the normal stresses that everybody has. They come to you, they start getting adjusted, they start letting the interference get out of the way so they can get clear and connected, and they can come from a different place of ease and growth, not protection and pain relief. Many practices right now are living and practicing under the financial stress and strain that prevents them from really being their best, growing their best, making the greatest impact. And that's what it is that we're looking to solve.
That is it, Jason. You're 100% correct. And email is really the driver. So update your email list if you have not done so in the last couple of weeks, months, or years. Be sure to update your email list. It is really, it is difficult if you're putting, low octane gas in a Ferrari and expecting it to run well. You want to make sure you have that octane up. The same thing goes for your email list. To get it running as well as possible, you want it to be updated, and that octane is your email subscribers. So make sure that you are as up to date as possible. And continue to tune in each and every Tuesday live for the Smart Chiropractor Show, where we go through many segments: mindset, clinical conversations, marketing strategy, business principles. We showcase how other Smart Chiropractor members are utilizing the tools and materials that they have to get better results in their practice. And there's no place than coming on live with us. Comment down below if you have any questions. We'll be happy to answer them. But we are going to get to right now our last segment of today, our last segment of the year. Oh my goodness. We're talking business principles, smart steps to success in 2022. This segment is brought to you by The Payday Practice, how you can generate recurring revenue that meets your minimum monthly expenses each and every month. That is our Smart Care store system that's built with and on top of the Smart Chiropractor. More to come on The Payday Practice as we cruise through 2022. Jason, smart steps to success in 2022. I'll have you take it from there.
Sounds good. We were reading an article. This is a concept that, I guess I'll set up The Payday Practice. It started off today's segment sharing with you Seth Godin. And one of the concepts he refers to is what he calls the minimum viable audience. And the minimum viable audience is what's the lowest number of people that you need to have as followers in order to be able to make a difference. I forgot the author's name, Kelly something, that did the 1,000 followers, I believe, 1,000 fans was the concept that you can run a business if you have 1,000 people following you that you communicate with consistently. You teach and invite on a regular basis. They get to know you. They get to learn from you. They get to connect with you. And when you recommend things, whether it's sponsors of your show, like every podcast out there right now, They're teaching, they're inviting, and then they have sponsors that they go, hey, check that out, check something else out. This episode brought to you by. Well, that can either be sponsors that are others, or they can be your own products, your own favorite products in your own store. And so that's really where practice success and the payday practice next year all merge. It's understanding that our goal for you in 2022 is for you to start the journey of generating recurring revenue in your practice. Most chiropractors do not have that. Some have some version of, we do payment plans. They have, people that pay monthly, over time, and so on. But rarely is it done with the specificity and intention the way we are describing in the payday practice, which is to specifically calculate your monthly recurring expenses. Similar to the minimum viable audience, the question is, what's your minimum viable monthly income? Your MVMI, as I've coined. The minimum amount of monthly income you must have in order to not feel financially stressed out. I bet you can come up with a number. What's the lowest amount of money that must come in for you to not feel stressed out? Once you figure that out, then the question becomes, how do you generate monthly recurring revenue on a monthly recurring basis that will meet that monthly recurring expense requirement so that you know it's handled? And the first of every month, which used to be, oh no, back to zero in collections, turns into, oh yes, it's payday. That's what a payday practice is. The first of the month, you've got your monthly recurring expenses covered because you have processed your monthly recurring revenue in one day, guaranteed to cover your expenses so that the rest of your month can be fun and profit and generosity and artistic expression the way it should be to be a top health professional service provider that provides people services based on your generosity, based on your spirit, based on your intellect, your inspiration, not based on your financial desperation, which unfortunately has ruined much of our profession. And the reason I say that is because for many years now, decades now, as Jeff and I have been working, and lots of other chiropractic consultants, leaders, coaches, mentors have often tried to say that the number one reason why people do not come to your practice, the number one reason why you don't have a full practice at capacity, is because there's not enough people in your community that actually appreciate and understand what you do. That's a very simple logic, right? If people understood the value of coming in to see you, I did not say if people understood what a subluxation is. I said if people understood the value of what it is they can benefit, they can receive by working with you, by learning from you, by following you. If they knew that, you'd never need another new client, new patient ever again. Simple formula. So how do you make sure that there is a growing number of people in your community learning what you really do? Those people who would be willing to pay out of their pocket for your services if insurance went away or something happened, if you're closed, would they still be a client of yours over time? We've got the data, and now with the pandemic experience, to know that those practices that build relationships and have recurring memberships experience something extremely differently than those transactional fee-for-service, you come in, lay down, and either you pay me, or in more cases, an insurance company pays me. Those types of practices had very different experiences in the last 2 years through this all. And that's only going to continue moving forward in the future. So if you want to make a greater impact to people in your community by providing them the things they need to be their best, then you can eliminate your financial stress along the way by following the payday practice formula. That's really sort of the overview of it, Jeff. What did I leave out? I know we have an article. I don't know if we want to bring that up to sort of say we're not the only crazies saying this, and it's not just some theoretical from Seth Godin and his marketing theory. This is what is going on in today's day and age. And it actually relates exactly to our last segment because of technology. Because you can build an email list and email people for free, because you can build a tribe of people that follow you on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, wherever else you want to post, because you can teach people. Anybody with a microphone and a camera and an internet connection can build an audience. And if you look at the Joe Rogans, they'll tell you this happened only as a byproduct of exactly the formula we're teaching. Be generous, be consistent, provide value to other people, and be patient with the process. Teach and invite consistently is the formula to get you where you want to go. We're the people, we're the team to help you actualize what we're talking about.
That is right, Jason. And I'm going to share that article behind me right now. This is an article that you found as well. You're doing some great sourcing here over the last week. And it's titled, "This is How to Make a Passive Income Machine in 12 Months." I'm going to scroll down just briefly and hit a few. We can drop a link down below. But a couple of the key points here is, the author talks about attracting, the right eyeballs and content, and really that is the pillar by which it's built. As a chiropractor, the beauty is you have a built-in audience already. You have people that love to learn from you. They're called the people that have been in your practice as your patients, your clients, or your members. He also talks a little bit about spending a little bit of time, and that this doesn't happen overnight, but it happens by getting out there and using our nomenclature, teaching and inviting consistently. And really providing that value and education first. It's not, invite and teach. It's teach and invite for a reason, because you really get out there and lead with the education, with the engagement, with the entertainment, however you want to define that. And that offers you the opportunity then to have an invitation or a call to action. And the article is really great because it basically breaks down a lot of the concepts that we've been discussing with the payday practice that you'll learn a lot more about within the payday practice. This article is a great primer to kind of get started with it. So certainly if you are a Smart Chiropractor member who has an active Smart Care store, highly encourage you to check this out. If you are somebody out there saying, I'm not yet a Smart Chiropractor member yet, but I am interested in creating recurring revenue with the help of you guys in 2022. Check it out. Or if you say, I don't know anything about this stuff and this seems super complicated, check this out, because it can start to get those gears turning for yourself, which inevitably is going to create a new way to think about your business and your practice. It doesn't mean you changing what you do. It doesn't mean you have to do something different or all of a sudden, you need to become a celebrity. What it does showcase is with what you have already. I'm going to put out a guarantee that probably 95% of the docs watching this right now have what they need to get going. They just don't have the system and process. And that's really where the Smart Chiropractor and our Smart Care Store system goes. And it's encapsulated all in the concept that we call the payday practice, which you'll learn a lot more about in 2022. So Jason, we are wrapping up. We're going to get out of this last segment. We'll go to our outro here. Closing thoughts. We're closing up 2021. This is going to be the last few minutes of Smart Chiro Show in 2021. What are some take-home messages you'd love to leave docs with as we head into a new year?
As you ask me that question, I just get goosebumps and just sort of have a sense of thank you. And I mean that all the way around. It is a time to be reflective. We all want more. We want more money. We want more time. We want more friends. We want more family. We want more love. We want more sleep. We want more of the things we love. We all want more. But there is something too, as the sages and experts and gurus and guides have told us throughout the years, that the way to more is through gratitude. And not that it's a technique, but it has become a habit to pause and reflect on just how grateful I am for the many things that we do already have, in spite of focusing on the things we still wish we could have. So for me, I'm grateful to not live in pain. I'm grateful to have what I hope is my health for a long time. That's number one. Number two, I'm grateful for my family and the fact that they're alive and doing something in this insane world that we are living in. I wish I could stop saying that. I hope to stop saying that, but we're not there yet. Jeff, and our team, I couldn't be more grateful for all of you. This dream would not be a reality if it wasn't for all of us in the boat, rowing together, committed in vision, committed in spirit. You know, our ride and die philosophy. We are in this because it is the right thing to do, not because it's the fastest way to make the most amount of money, because it's not. But it is the right thing to do. And it is an area, I know, you know, when I get self-reflective and spiritual, you know, what do I want to do when I grow up? What would I do if I didn't need the money? You know, where can I provide the greatest contribution of whatever skills and knowledge I may have developed over these years and make a positive impact of some sort, I hope? Where can I make my dent in the universe? And I think the answer to that as of now is doing exactly what I'm doing with you here, with all of you. And that is to do what we can to galvanize those people like me, like us, who know that there is a different way of thinking about health and healthcare that, if more people understood, would absolutely transform our world for the better. I believe that. That's the Kool-Aid I am drinking. So if you're like me, that if more people actually appreciated what it was like to at least pay attention to your health, do what you can to adopt positive, healthy habits as opposed to just loving all of your negative, hedonistic pleasures, but at least finding some sort of balance and hopefully erring on the side of positive. And if you know that the chiropractic philosophy and story that we are innately given the ability to heal ourselves, that our brain and spinal cord and nerve system run the show, that interference to that system is bad news, and that keeping that system as clear as possible through regular chiropractic care and adjustments as necessary really is one of the pillars of staying as healthy as possible, of living your potential, of being your very best so that you can be of best service to others and make the greatest contribution. If not for others, at least you're in the best position to take care of yourself so others don't need to. That, to me, I think, is really what it's all about as we sort of wrap up. And I'm just grateful to you, Jeff. I'm grateful to Narissa, who runs our entire team. And I won't name everybody's name, but you know who you are. This couldn't be done without you. And it really is, in spite of the many blessings I have and have had in my life, this is what gets me excited to wake up in the morning and dig deeper, contribute more. It's the work that makes a difference, as opposed to, you know, the wonderful benefits of investments and wonderful things that are out there. This is the work that makes a difference in people's lives. And I'm proud to be able to do it with you, with our team, and with all of you who eventually will watch this or a future episode. We see this as growth for us, for you, for our profession, for our community. It is the light in the darkness that we believe is essential. So I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for the record month of new members we just brought on. I'm grateful for the new store system finally getting into a place that docs can start selling and sharing, for our email program to be able to work together to get your current clients who you already have on your email list to want to pay attention to the things that you want to offer them. This whole machine has been being built over years and is now finally starting to come together. You know, I look at Tesla and I look at these other companies that have spent years behind the scenes being nothing, no names, risks. You're crazy. You're out of your mind. Nobody's going to go for that. Are you? What planet are you on? That's not how it is. Nobody's going to believe you. It'll never happen. All the naysayers. I'm excited for all those naysayers to see what we're building this year, what we're releasing. And for those of you that have been patient with us on this journey, I can tell you, you will not be more excited than what it is that we have planned for you. And for the creative spirit that drives us to do this, for the resources that we've attracted to be able to actually make it happen, for the human connection you and I and our team have together to work together as a Peloton force to want to help those chiropractors who are like us make a greater difference in your community. To all of you, I say thank you.
Very well said, Jason. I couldn't say any better. I appreciate you and really casting the vision for what we are able to achieve and constantly pushing the envelope. And it's awesome. It's awesome to see it come to fruition. I know we're trying to get the store system launched in the year 2000. Just kidding. But we are very excited for 2022. So if you've watched, if this is the first show you've watched, if you've been on our email list for years, regardless of where you're at in your journey and where we reside in it, we just would like to say from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for paying attention. Thanks for taking time out of your day. If you're a Smart Chiropractor member, thank you for trusting us. Thank you for being part of our team. If you're not yet a Smart Chiropractor member, we do have open enrollment going on. Head over to smartchiropractor.com. Check it all out there. Have a great last few days of 2021. Let's make 2022 our best year yet. Let's do it together and have some fun in the process. So for Dr. Jason Deitch, I'm Dr. Jeff Langmaid, our entire Smart Chiropractor team. We'll see you next week for another episode of the Smart Chiropractor Show. Bye-bye. Hey, if you like that video, be sure to subscribe to the Smart Chiropractor. We are posting videos on how you can market your chiropractic practice in a way that teach and invites consistently. We have found that is the magic formula to big time growth. So if you like this video, be sure to comment down below, smash that subscribe button, or visit us at thesmartchiropractor.com.